laws of a nation, let those who will take care of its rights and wrongs. What care I? Who cares for the world's affairs? As long as I can sing its popular songs. Let me sing a funny song with crazy words that roll along. And if my song can start you laughing, I'm happy, happy. Let me sing the sad refrain of broken hearts that loved in vain. And if my song can start you crying, I'm happy. Let me croon the low-down blues to lift you out of your seat. And if my song can reach your shoes and start you tapping your feet, I'm happy. Let me sing of Dixie's charms, the Swanee shore, and mother's arms. And if my song can make you homesick, can start you laughing, can start you crying, I'm happy.
To those who help us most grow if we let them, and we have them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I know you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the woods. soft melodies and April springs, a heart that's always sings, and angels on your pillow. Oh, the joy that love can give, as long as there is life to live, a peaceful mind to give you rest, and angels on your pillow. Someone there at journey's end, someone who's a faithful friend, love beginning without end, and angels on your pillow. Amazing times that we can share when all of us are aware, where you can walk and be who you are, and angels on your pillow. I love you, Frank.
That concludes the musical portion of our. We have Ms. Roseleen Brown, who would like to come up and say a few words on behalf of the Hollywood Towers and Casa Giordano.
Brian Ann talked earlier how much Frank told her how much we all meant to him. But what she didn't say is how much he meant to us. I've only been back in Los Angeles about a year and a half. And when I started to get to know Frank, he'd already been diagnosed. So our time was very precious, and I think he was in a different state of mind than when he was younger, and when he was, in his 30s and stuff. He was realizing that life wasn't going to be endless. So he was appreciating every day of his life. He was such a friend to all of us, to some even a father figure, but always a source of happiness and light. I mean, Frank and his half door with lemon shots lined up. We all remember him. Anything that happened with our day, any job, any audition. I mean, we have a building full of everybody, all ages, all career choices, aspiring writers, actors, people in all kinds of businesses, and he wanted to know everything about all of us and shared his wisdom and his humor, and of course the history of the building, which we've lost that, because I don't know if we got all the stories, but a lot of FBI swap raids, things like that. But, and, famous people and whatnot, and who they slept with, and various things, those tidbits we don't get when we're signing that rental lease. But, no, but Frank was amazingly special. He was our everyday. Every day I opened my door, I would see Frank Giordano next to the pool, on his chair, little table, and I always see him there. His spirit is always going to be part of our building. He will have no idea the impact he had on our lives. And it is St. Patrick's Day. So I thought it might be appropriate to have just a couple little things to say about him. But one Irish saying, and he wasn't Irish, but I was, so here we go. When we drink, we get drunk. When we get drunk, we fall asleep. When we fall asleep, we commit no sin. When we commit no sin, we go to heaven. So let's all get drunk and go to heaven.
I guess we couldn't have picked a better day to celebrate Frank's life since it's St. Patrick's Day. And I thought what I might do is read an Irish funeral prayer, which I think is very apropos to Frank. I should mention, though, he, aside from all his talents, was an incredibly courageous man. You know, Frank worked and worked at ECFMG long before I think we even knew that there was anything wrong. Laugh as we always laughed at the jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effort. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind? Because I am out of sight. I am but waiting for you for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well, nothing is hurt, nothing is lost. One brief moment, and all will be as it was before. How we shall laugh at the trouble of parting when we meet again. To Frank Giordano.
For 14 years at the building that we've lived in. And before that, he became my friend. He was my mentor. He was my confessor. He was somebody who I smoked pot with. We shared numerous amounts of stories. I can't remember them all because you know what that does to me. There was a time about 4 years ago that they were going to get a new property manager for the building, and it was brought to me. And Frank said, "Well, what are you, a fool? You got to take this property management position. You know where all the bodies have been buried. I told you where they're all hidden. You have to take this." One thing that I enjoyed about Frank was he held court. And he held court by the poolside practically every day. He was somebody who was, as most of you know, he was an avid reader. He probably went through 2 to 3 books a week, and he would recite a lot of parts of the books that he read and stuff, and would try to throw them into what was going on in your life. And whether it mattered or not, it was always trinkets of his wisdom that brought very, very true to my life and how I felt about him and what I was going through. And I just have to tell you, the man was probably one of the most wise people I think I will ever have in my life. And I'm going to miss him dearly. He, today, excuse me, I didn't think I'd get choked up. Surprise! You've been gone a few months now. I don't know if anybody has ever been to his apartment, but he had this half door. We would call it the lemonade stand. And it had been there since he moved into the property. He's lived in the building for almost 38 years. Lived in 3 different apartments. His last apartment was apartment number 3, and it had this half door. And when Beverly Hills Property Management took over the property, they wanted to change the door. Frank fought tooth and nail. It was like, you cannot take my half door away. The half door is still there. And as memory today, since I am the property manager, the half door's open. Frank touched a lot of our lives, whether it was happy or a little angry. God knows he had a sharp tongue. I think that's what I enjoyed the most, was hearing him spew out. But the thing is, at the end of the day, though, he always said, let this day pass, because tomorrow's another day. And he never carried that. I mean, well, yeah. But most of all, though, I mean, it was really just a learning process that we all experienced with this wonderful man. I mean, he was one of the most, I mean, he was a genius. He truly was a genius. And if you ever had a problem, not if you've lived in the building 1 year or you lived in the building 14 or 20 some years, he was always your go-to guy for advice, wisdom, whether you took it or not. It still was he was a good sounding board. He always made fun of me because I wear several different hats. I'm a dog walker, I'm an actor, I'm a property manager, I'm a caregiver for an elderly friend of mine. And I could always guarantee that whether I was coming or going, he was always sitting at his table, in his chair, and he would laugh at me. Do you have time now? Can you come over and hang out with me? And I always would. And now those are the most cherished moments that I will carry for the rest of my life. I love you, Frank.
Those of you who don't know, I work with Frank and ECFMG. And I have to say that hands down, he was the funniest man I have ever known in my life. And I mean, even when he was spewing vitriol, he still had a way of making it absolutely hilarious. And I just wanted to share, a lot of you already know this story, but it's one of my favorites. There was one time when there was a van parked out across the street from the newsstand over on Hollywood and Cahuenga. They were shooting a segment for an episode of Candy Camera. And what they had done was someone went out there and glued a stack of newspapers at the newsstand together. And they were going to film people's reactions as they tried to take one of these papers off the stack. The first person came, tried to take the paper off the stack, and ended up pulling the whole thing, and kept on trying, nothing worked. Person ended up stomping off frustrated. Another person came, did the same thing, ended up leaving laughing. Frank, however, shows up at the newsstand. Any opportunity that Frank had to be on, he was. Tries to pick up the newspaper. Nothing's happening, he picks up the entire bale with him. In true Frank Giordano tradition, picked up the entire stack of newspapers, started playing it like an accordion, singing, That is the Frank Giordano who held court at work. That is the Frank Giordano we know and love. And I just know that the hereafter is a much funnier place.
Remember to drive carefully. There are police out there, but there's still a lot to drink and eat.
Yes!
We have some videos of Frank in the other room that you can see. Both of them he made, he put together, that will be in there for you to look at. And please remember to take a picture. Thank you.